Do you know what it's like to drive a homemade bulldozer? To level a city hall? What's it like to face off against cops? With a Barrett rifle? In 2014, a show called Leviathan, a Russian crime drama, was released. The show told the story of a mechanic targeted by the mayor for his land, eventually leading to forced demolition and a broken family. Shortly after its release, the show won the 72nd Golden Globe Award for Best Foreign Language Film and the Asia Pacific Screen Award for Best Feature Film. It was also nominated for the 87th Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. While everyone marveled at the show's deep reflections on contemporary Russia's most critical social issues, director and screenwriter Zvyagintsev revealed a secret that stunned the world. The inspiration for this film actually came from America. Zvyagintsev said that he achieved this success thanks to his past experience studying filmmaking in the US, and especially thanks to a legendary American, Marvin John Heemeyer. Marvin was born on a farm in South Dakota. His father, John Ham Heemeyer, was a veteran. His military career was extraordinary. He began service on the 1st of August 1945. 5 days later, the US dropped atomic bombs on Japan. On September 2, after the war ended, John was discharged at the end of the month. In the broader picture of the Allies' victory in the global fight against fascism, he left a completely unrecorded mark. After being discharged, John married a woman named Augusta Muda and ran a family farm. Although raised in this environment, Marvin showed no interest in animal husbandry or farming, but preferred tinkering with farm machinery indoors. At the age of 10, Marvin could fix his family's tractor by himself. At age 12, while helping his father repair a cattle fence, Marvin learned electric welding techniques and soon obtained a senior welder certification. Truly a genius craftsman. When I was his age, besides using my phone to browse on a tablet, I didn't know how to do anything else. Of course, it's still like that now. In 1971, Marvin, at age 20, decided to enlist. With an excellent background in mechanical repair and welding, Marvin was sent directly to the US Air Force and became an engineer. Specifically, an aircraft maintenance engineer. Thanks to his outstanding skills, Marvin became the first person at Lowry Air Force Base, Colorado, to receive the Air Force Medal of Commendation as a mechanic. In 1993, 40000 GTS number +or-F, END, the Warn. During his service, Marvin fell in love with the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. So after being discharged in 1974, Marvin chose to stay in Colorado and opened an exhaust repair shop. His top-tier welding skills, honed over years of maintaining fighter jets, were absolutely overwhelming when applied to automobiles. Before long, Marvin's exhaust shop became the leading shop in Denver. At this point, Marvin's business acumen began to show. He leveraged his reputation to turn the repair shop into a franchise chain, quickly expanding throughout Colorado. In 1989, Marvin, almost financially free, grew tired of the hustle and bustle of the city. He decided to move to a small town of only 400 residents at the foot of the Rocky Mountains to live. He spent about $100,000, an exorbitant price, to buy a mountain-backed, lake-facing mansion in Rocky Mountain National Park. The warehouse was filled with expensive snowmobile equipment. He often invited friends to go snowmobiling in the mountains, since Rocky Mountain National Park was a climbing route. With more fatalities than the death road in Badwater Basin, Marvin voluntarily organized a civilian rescue team with his friends. Because he was extremely skilled at snowmobiling, he could often reach remote areas that rescue vehicles could not access. As a result, he repeatedly helped victims escape danger. Marvin loved this life. He decided to spend the rest of his days here, feeling his life would be complete, even if he died on this mountain. In 1992, Marvin bought 2 acres of land for $42,000 at an auction. He planned to lease this land to a friend, who intended to build a car repair shop there. Marvin thought it was a successful business deal, but unexpectedly, this auction would change his life. After acquiring the land, Marvin inspected the site conditions. It used to be a parking lot. To save effort, the previous owner had dug a pit underground and buried a concrete mixer, secretly discharging wastewater. Due to lax supervision, this had been overlooked for years, but the friend considered the site too risky and dared not take the land. However, Marvin still valued this piece of land, saying, "Once bought, it's mine." He directly opened a muffler repair shop here. Thanks to its location at the entrance of the national park, foot traffic was excellent, and business was better than expected. By 1997, an accident occurred. The Dochev family, the richest family in town, planned to expand their cement plant. The officers' bullets take over the town's entire industrial zone. Since the lot Marvin bought was adjacent to the old cement plant, the Dochev family was the first to approach Marvin. Initially, Marvin asked for $250,000. The Dochev family immediately agreed. Marvin felt bad, saying, "The price is too low." He shouted again. This time, the price rose to $350,000. The Dochev family gritted their teeth and agreed again. This price was 7 times what Marvin had paid for the land initially. Everyone expected Marvin to agree, but unexpectedly, the other party changed their mind again, shouting a price of $450,000. This time, the Dochev family was angry. They knew Marvin didn't really want to sell the land, but was just playing games with them. So, they terminated the acquisition negotiations. Afterward, Marvin organized the town neighbors to protest the Dochev family's cement plant expansion. The reason was that such heavy pollution would seriously affect the small town's environment and the nature preserve. Initially, Marvin gained the support of all town residents. But soon, the Dochev family used their money power to increase the land requisition price, promising job creation and increased investment in dust and noise reduction measures, bribing the local government and all residents except Marvin. In 2001, the cement plant expansion project was approved by the city council with an overwhelming majority vote. Marvin spent $100,000 of his personal funds to hire Colorado's best lawyer to sue the cement plant project for violating regulations, successfully delaying the project for 2 years. During that time, the Dochev family repeatedly offered olive branches, but Marvin refused them all. Thus, the two sides became completely estranged. The city government entered the fray, legalizing the project plan through multiple hearings. In 2003, the judge officially dismissed Marvin's lawsuit. The $100,000 in litigation fees went down the drain. Afterward, construction began. The Dochev family bought up all lots except Marvin's and started building. Marvin's repair shop was surrounded, becoming an isolated island. Regarding this, Marvin reported the construction to the Environmental Protection Agency, claiming the dust was affecting his business. In response, the EPA not only refused to intervene, but also turned around and asked the city hall to fine Marvin, Launsan Wubai Meiyuan, stating that his underground sewage collection system did not comply with regulations, illegally discharging polluting effluent. This fine wasn't large, but the insult was immense. Moreover, if Marvin wanted to renovate the discharge system, the sewer pipe would definitely have to pass through the Dochev family's land. If he didn't go beg the Dochevs, the sewer line would have to take a long detour, with construction costs estimated to be at least $100,000. By this point, Marvin was completely disillusioned with Granby and its residents. He had lived here for years, but still couldn't integrate. Depressed, Marvin listed all his properties in Granby for sale. Very quickly, a waste management company bought Marvin's land for the staggering price of $400,000. 10 years, 10 times the profit. In terms of ROI, Marvin's land investment was clearly a success, but he himself was not happy at all, because the day after selling the land, the buyer, with the city government's support, completed the sewage system renovation. Very quickly, all the equipment and tools in the repair shop were also bought by others. Only one Komatsu D355, a bulldozer weighing 44.5 tons, remained. Marvin had his eye on what was then the world's most powerful heavy-tracked dozer. At a California auction in 2002, he paid $16,000 plus $10,000 in cross-state shipping costs to bring it home. Initially, to improve relations with the government, he intended to drive it himself to repair the sewer line. It was paid for. But after the two sides turned hostile, this steel monster had no use and could only be sold with the other assets. After being left untouched for a long time, Marvin was not discouraged. On the contrary, he felt it was destiny, and a crazy idea formed in his mind. It was God's will. All the tough and decisive people in human history share common traits, whether intelligent or foolish, whether lucky or unlucky, in different life circumstances, but they certainly all share one common trait: the almost frightening ability to execute. In October 2003, after selling the repair shop, Marvin rented back half the workshop and separated it with a fence. Then, he drove the bulldozer into the workshop. An 18-month terrifying plan officially began. Around 2:15 p.m. on the 4th of June 2004, a loud explosion spread throughout the small town. From the workshop at the trash collection center, a terrifying steel monster burst out. Indeed, this was the ultimate tank, MK1, that Marvin had handcrafted over 18 months. The entire tank was covered with 20 centimeters thick, high-strength concrete armor, sandwiched between two 12mm steel plates. The tracks were reinforced with alloy armor. The entire tank had no windows, instead using a 360-degree panoramic imaging system built with cameras. The cameras outside were protected by 7.6 centimeters thick bulletproof polycarbonate shields. Equipped with a pneumatic dust cleaning system, it had 410 horsepower and a 19.3-liter capacity. Undeniably, Marvin's MK was the most powerful existence, beneath modern main battle tanks. Marvin drove his masterpiece straight toward the Dochev family's cement plant. Unsurprisingly, the precast concrete workshop was like paper, pierced instantly. The workshop exploded and turned into rubble. Marvin's tank was unharmed in the explosion. Cody Dochev, the plant manager, saw that the MK tank had no windows, thinking the MK tank was remotely controlled. So, he drove a bulldozer, attempting to protect his family's property. In just one collision, he felt his bulldozer was like a toy, thrown to the side. While Cody was still stunned, the tank suddenly stopped. Then came a loud explosion. A round penetrated the bulldozer's bucket, piercing the cockpit glass. Cody soiled himself. This madman Marvin had installed 3 sniper ports on the tank: a Barrett Motantadue anti-material rifle for long-range sniping, an M14 rifle, and a 357 revolver for close defense. Soon, Cody's bulldozer was riddled with holes from the Barrett rifle. Fearing for his life, Cody quickly abandoned the vehicle and fled. In just 10 minutes, most of the cement plant's workshops were leveled. At this point, 3 police officers arrived at the scene. Seeing such a massive object, they were all stunned. What the hell is this? After a moment of stupefaction, the officers remembered to draw their weapons to stop him. Struck the MK tank, without leaving a scratch. Marvin swept his M14 toward the officers, forcing them to keep their heads down. This thing is truly a mobile fortress. Truly a fortress. After taking revenge on the Dochev family, Marvin began moving into the downtown area. Along the way, the MK tank didn't bother detouring, anything blocking its path. It leveled. Police officers continued to follow the tank, firing 200 rounds along the way, trying to stop Marvin. At this time, Deputy Chief Glenn Traynor found an opportunity, climbing onto the tank's roof. He found the cockpit entry hatch and tried to open it, but failed. Marvin had designed the tank as a completely sealed, sloped steel shell with no handles or hatches. Glenn tried his sidearm and a flashbang grenade, but discovered even the ventilation holes couldn't be breached. 5 minutes later, Marvin reached City Hall and rammed straight into it. Glenn was forced to jump off the tank. Then, he watched as Marvin leveled the entire City Hall. Next were the library and the newsroom of the Liberty Tribune. This newsroom had published several articles, criticizing Marvin as unreasonable, and it was finally leveled by Marvin. Afterward, Marvin went to the former mayor's house. During his term, the mayor had rejected many of Marvin's requests. Although the mayor had passed away by this time, Marvin still unhesitatingly leveled his house. After completing the primary revenge targets, Marvin's 6th target was the telecommunications company building. The purpose of this action was to cut off the town's communications, preventing police from calling for outside help. I'm going to prep heavy ordnance. We need heavy ordnance. We need more support units. I'm going to prep heavy ordnance. We need heavy ordnance. When Marvin had leveled nearly half the city, good news arrived. Police Chief Rod Johnson had requisitioned a special display firearm from a gun shop, the city's only Barrett M82 anti-materiel sniper rifle, and handed it over to a SWAT sniper. That's right, SWAT arrived on the scene just over 10 minutes after the incident began, but they had absolutely no say. Dozens of SWAT officers stood by with their mouths agape, watching the entire event unfold. Now they finally had a chance to score a victory. The sniper set up the Barrett, aimed, and fired. But nothing happened next. Clearly, among the materials tested against the anti-materiel rifle, the tank was not included. After a few shots, let alone the engine, Even the MK's armor couldn't be penetrated. At this point, all police countermeasures were useless. And then, something terrifying happened. Marvin had reached his 8th target. The city's natural gas storage facility. This facility stored 250,000 liters of natural gas. If it exploded, it would be equivalent to hundreds of tons of TNT, capable of leveling all buildings. Within an 800-meter radius. That's one step faster than the bulldozer. Since they couldn't stop Marvin, the police could only evacuate all personnel in the danger zone. He hit it. He hit the gas tank. After Marvin reached the location, he used the Barrett rifle to snipe. Fortunately, because the Barrett bullet fired was armor-piercing, the round easily penetrated the tank, causing a propane leak. However, due to the lack of sustained high temperatures and electrical sparks, the gas concentration quickly dissipated and did not reach the explosive limit. Marvin's attack plan failed, so he gave up on detonation and prepared to return downtown to continue leveling. At this moment, the authorities had mobilized a Caterpillar 631 heavy wheel loader to try and stop Marvin with this 14-meter-long, 46.5-ton monster. Go back. We need to contact the military. We need an armored unit. This guy destroys everything he sees. We've tried everything. We've completely lost control. He's about to escape. Stop him. I can't do it. Just let him go. Request military support. We need firepower that can stop him. Although their weights were nearly equal, the rubber tires of the 631 were overwhelmed by the traction of the tracked vehicle. Considering the opponent might use the Barrett, and the 631 lacked super thick armor, the driver could only quickly retreat. We are contacting the nearest Carson Army Base, or the current Agnes Air Force Base. Marvin encountered no resistance, continuing into downtown via the highway. At this rate, with no other choice, then Governor Bill Owens declared a state of emergency across the state, forcing the authorization of the National Guard. Soon, the city of Granby would be completely demolished to use military force for counterattack. The initial operation plan was to deploy M1A2, Abrams main battle tanks, but the nearest Carson Army Base was about 240 kilometers from the incident site. Transporting by heavy trailer from loading to arrival would take at least 6 hours. By then, downtown would already be destroyed. The closer Berkeley Air Force Base had F-16 seconds, but the anti-tank missiles they carried had too much destructive power, targeting a slow-moving civilian target amidst chaotic rubble made collateral damage highly likely. The speed of city leveling could be even faster than the marks. Considering everything, the best option was to deploy 2 Apache helicopters from Carson Army Base, carrying Javelin missiles, and a National Guard team equipped with AT-4 rocket launchers. They could deploy in about 40 minutes. Mission accepted and prepared. However, just as the National Guard finished arming and prepared for takeoff, a new situation emerged at the scene. The MK tank's coolant tank exploded due to prolonged high-power operation. Marvin's cooling system overheated, the engine overloaded and started smoking heavily. Even so, Marvin hadn't stopped, continuing to drive the excavator, preparing to level a large hardware store, clear out the SWAT officers and armored vehicles nearby. We need a team to circle back east, to find a way to block traffic. Just as Marvin was about to break through, the tank suddenly got stuck. The load-bearing capacity of that hardware store's basement had almost no consideration for a tank driving over it. When the MK passed, the basement collapsed. The right track was left hanging in the air. Marvin continuously tried to break free, but due to the overheated engine, this giant machine, after running continuously for 2 hours and 7 minutes and leveling 13 buildings, finally stalled with a gunshot. Considering Marvin was still a major threat, the officers still dared not approach. Over the next 18 hours, police monitored the tank with thermal cameras. After confirming no signs of life inside, police began using C4 for demolition. 3 explosions only chipped off a bit of paint on the outer steel layer, and some concrete debris on the edges. The defensive capability of this machine exceeded the demolition capabilities of the SWAT team. So, they had to bring in industrial oxygen acetylene cutters. After 5 hours of continuous cutting, police finally reached the cockpit. At that moment, the police discovered Marvin had used a .357 revolver to commit suicide. Police also found about 1 month's supply of food and water inside the tank. Afterward, according to statistics, Marvin destroyed 13 main buildings within 2 hours, including City Hall, the newsroom, the telecom company, the power company, the cement plant, etc. The total direct economic damage was $7 million. The government then inventoried Marvin's estate, hoping to auction it off to compensate for these losses. The good news was that Marvin's assets reached an astonishing $1 million. The bad news was that this money had been transferred to his father and brother a year before the incident. The government had no right to auction it. The only thing they could deal with was a 2.5-hour audio recording detailing Marvin's life and the reasons for planning the attack. Making easy money in business prevented him from selling the Komatsu bulldozer. His destiny was to create the MK and destroy everything. This was his mission. Finally, the government defined Marvin as a lunatic who committed terrorism. But ironically, after this case, the city of Granby became a world-famous tourist attraction, bringing the local area tens of millions of US dollars in tourism revenue every year. People called Marvin the last saint, the bulldozer king. He was a symbol of ordinary people, resisting capitalists and the powerful. Pilgrims flocked to Granby non-stop for decades afterward. In mods for Minecraft, Rainbow Six Siege, and even GTA, people continuously recreated Marvin's killer bulldozer. Although besides Marvin, he harmed no one else. On April 2025, the city of Granby officially declared the MK tank destroyed. And to prevent anyone from taking it as a souvenir, the government dismantled the MK and dispersed it to various scrap recycling stations for disposal. They emphasized that Marvin was not a hero. He was insane. The fact that he harmed no one was purely due to luck. On the 8th of June 2024, Marvin's family and friends drove his favorite snowmobiles and scattered Marvin's ashes into the wind over the Rocky Mountains. It was the place he loved most in life and where he wished to die. So, do you think Marvin was an insane person or an American hero? Leave your opinions in the comments. All right. That's all for today's video. Please support me by liking, sharing, and subscribing. See you in the next episode.